Hello friends, welcome back. I'm Outcrop. This is a Bybit tutorial. Okay, this isn't going to be particularly in depth. It's just an introduction. It'll be useful for people who are experienced traders or indeed new traders. It's just to give you an idea about this, what Bybit are having offer here in terms of their USDT linear contract. So linear contract, what does that mean, and why are we looking at that? And have you heard of something called an inverse contract before or whatever? So if you're new to trading and you've heard of exchanges like BitMEX and Deribit and Bybit or whatever, you might have heard about how you go out, you buy Bitcoin, you go on an exchange, you deposit your Bitcoin, you trade buying contracts, say in dollar prices, and you get say $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, and then if the price of Bitcoin changes, because your base position is in Bitcoin rather than dollars, and you're trading it versus the dollar, there's an inverted nature there to how your profits and loss work on that regard. Now, to put that into context, here we have the linear contract, the USDT linear contract. So if you have a deposit here, in this instance, USDT to Bybit or Bitcoin, and then convert it to USDT, which is an option on the site, whatever, and your trading as your base currency is the US dollar tether currency, then of course, then if you have $10,000 worth of Bitcoin, say you deposit right now $7,575, and that's the current price. So you put in an order for that, and that would be 1 Bitcoin. If the price of that 1 Bitcoin changes by $1,000, how much do you make? You make $1,000. If it goes, or how much do you lose? $1,000, because it's not inverted, and then the maths is simpler. So that's the biggest difference between the two contracts, right? And I think that constitutes 50% of the tutorial for people. Now, here we have the next 20 seconds are going to be a really brief introduction to the sort of exchange for people who are new. Essentially, what are we looking at here? Well, this big load of candles, this bar chart here, is the price action that we have, and that's a chart that's provided by TradingView, or is using TradingView back end for this chart. So you've got different options on there in terms of your drawing tools and stuff like that, or whatever. That's kind of handy. You've got and it's a reliable chart. You've got your order book up here, your recent trades here. This shows you what people have put orders in for. Say I want to buy 10 Bitcoin at 20 pence, I put an order in. That's where that lives. You've got the recent trades. Say somebody comes along and says, I'm going to buy some Bitcoin at the current market price, then that's where you'll see that showing up there with it sort of all of them sort of time stamped and everything else. Down here you've got an empty box at the minute, but that's where your positions would show up, or your orders or whatever, whenever you've got them placed. And over here you've got your order book. Okay, down the bottom you can see the contract details. That's actually behind me right now. Experts might want to look to know where that is. New people trading might want to actually read that so they know what they're trading on. Overall, it doesn't change very much necessarily day to day. It's good to know what you're doing though, and that's where that is. So over here, if you want to open up a position, you've got two options in terms of your leverage. Okay, you've got isolated and cross. That's the end of the sort of the real novice introduction. Here's a little section. The next 20 seconds is going to be for experts. So if you already know about cross and isolated margin, of course, and you maybe trade on Deribit thinking that you've got portfolio management there, which is great because you can hedge against your positions by opening up a contrary one. So you're long, you can open up a short, and then when you're operating with cross and you're using portfolio management, for instance, as on Deribit, then you're sort of the position sizes being equal will mean that you would have no liquidation price, because for every dollar you made on with the prices going up, you would lose $1 on your short position, and they would tally out against each other. Is that an option here? It is. It's only an option if you use cross. If you use isolated margin, then both of your positions have got independent liquidation points on them. So for instance, in terms of if you were a complete novice and you don't really know what I'm talking about there, if you were to use isolated margin and you were to go 100x and short it from down here, then you would very much have been liquidated. Now if you were to have then also have used isolated margin and shorted it with 100x from down here and longed it from down here at the same time with two equal sized positions, then you would have been liquidated on the short, and your long would have gone into profit, and then have started losing money again thereafter. And if the price goes back down to here, then both of those positions would end up being liquidated. On the other hand, if you've done both of those things but you'd use cross, and cross always uses like the maximum leverage available, so you can just consider that to be 100 at the time of opening your position, then as the prices went up and down, you would have actually had really a nominal just the fees that you pay or whatever. You would have had no real difference in your profit or loss. It would have been, they would have one would have cancelled out the other, and at which case, you know, your long right now would be in profit, and your short would be, you know, proportionately in that much of a loss, however much your long was in profit at that point, and neither of those positions would be liquidated. That sounds advantageous, of course it is, and it's a more sophisticated way to trade, but then again, it might also sound kind of dodgy to you and a little bit like, why would you do that? And hey, this is complicated, and there you go. You know, you're better off sticking to isolated if you're new to trading. Now, what do I mean by isolated margin again? Then back to new to trading, you've got your isolated margin. You can choose your margin, your leverage in here at some point. Yeah, you can click on this button here for editing it, and you can choose whatever you want. And say it's set to 5 at the minute, and you can see here there's 5 for longs and sell is short, because that's, like I say, you can hedge your positions nowadays on Bybit. You could potentially have a cross position and an isolated one, and there's various different ways of mixing that together. Anyway, you can choose as well. You can hedge against yourself essentially by opening up. You could open up a long here. Say you'd opened up a long 100x, thinking, yeah, I'm really going to go for it here, and you'd also shorted it. You could have maybe used different leverage amounts. So say you'd shorted it with just 1x, you know, and you'd longed it with 100x, then your long would be in profit and you'd have paid nothing for the privilege, and your short would still be there and it wouldn't have been liquidated because, you know, you're using such a low leverage, all that jazz. Anyway, you can choose it yourself. You can go as high as 100. I'm not a financial advisor, none of this financial advice, of course. So if you want to go 100, then that's on you. Of course, people that have got brains tend not to. Okay, enough of that. Right, so you can choose your leverage up there and all that sort of stuff, and then of course you've got different order types, right? There's 3 order types here. Conditional, right? Okay, if you're more expert, you'll probably want to use conditional orders from time to time. Sure, that gives you conditions that you can put on there. Now, I'm not going to go into that in terms of that's outside the scope of what we're looking at here. Really, you know, you've got your 2 main types of orders. Now, you've got markets and limits. Now, the expert side of this, you might want to know that you get a rebate on your limit and you pay a fee on your market. This is interesting. If you're a novice, what do you want to know? Well, market orders generally, they have a fee attached to them, and that's for the privilege of taking the price off here, because you're taking the price, you're a taker on the market, and you're removing liquidity from the market. Whereas the limit order will have a rebate associated with it because you're adding liquidity to the market, and that helps facilitate this whole gambit that we're doing here, and you get a rebate for that. Okay, that's enough of an explanation in that sense, and generally speaking, you know, you want to be using limit orders if you can, generally speaking, because like you take a look at the market, you think, hey, I think the prices will maybe drop down to here or there or whatever, you know, and you're not just trading based off of the price that happens to be on the screen at the time that you happen to log in, because that's more akin to gambling. Of course, market orders do have a very good reason to exist. Bear in mind, then again, this is for both novices and experts, that you pay fees on your entire position size as opposed to paying fees just on the margin that you're supplying. So say you're supplying $5 of margin and you're going at 100x. What are you paying your fees on? You're paying fees on a position which only cost you $5 to open, or are you paying fees on a position which actually has a $500 cost open? It's the second option there. Your fee is higher, and indeed it's at times, if you're using extreme leverage and you're to market in and market out of a position, you'd actually need the market to move in favor for you quite a significant degree in order to cover your fees on both sides of that trade. You know, if you're using crazy high leverage, these are the sorts of things that you need to think about in a little bit more context. Really, again, a story for another day. Let's just look at putting in a order here as well with the limit order and the different options you've got. Right. First point of confusion that you might have if you're new to the USDT contract and you need to know it is that you're ordering in quantities of Bitcoin. I like to think of thousands of Bitcoins as being called milli-Bitcoin. So for instance, you could put an order in for 100 milli-Bitcoins with 0.1. You could put an order in for 1,000 milli-Bitcoins or 1 full Bitcoin just by typing 1 in there. Or you could put an order in, you can also use these buttons down below, which will take a proportion of your account. Say I wanted to use 50% of my available balance, I would be able to get 1 milli-Bitcoin here using 5x as we discussed earlier on. The cost of that order for me would be $1.50, so you get to see that down below. It's not a massive print, but it's there, so you can work out, it does your maths for you essentially, and there you go. Again, you know, you could use certain different proportions of your account. Experts out there like to tell people to only use a small proportion of their account at any given time for any trade, and it's sensible. What are these two options down below here? Oh, it actually wants me to put in a price. It's telling me. Another good thing about Bybit is that it keeps you in the loop as you go along. So let's just say I want to put in an order for 1 milli Bitcoin, right? And let's put in a take profit. This is an option which is quite cool to have on an exchange. You can edit these later and do them later after the fact, but especially for new traders, it helps keeps you sort of doing what you intended on doing. One of the biggest risks when trading is greed and fear, and both of those things generally get a symptom of both of them is changing your sort of entries and exit prices and whatnot. And if you've not even set them up at the start of your trade, then you're even more liable to change those, as you feel about your position. During this upward wick here, oh, it feels so great to be there. I'm going to move my take profit up to way up here in the sky, and then the next candle comes in, it's a red one, you regret doing it, whatever. So you get to do a take profit there. Now these are going to be market orders, right? So you really ideally you'd want to have a limit order to sell it off. Instead, you'd want to have that in there and to do that yourself. So bear that in mind because you'll pay a fee on this, but there it is, and you can put in a take profit, and equally you can put in a stop loss. So say you wanted to get in here at 7584, you might want to say your profit is, I'm aware that's above the current price, by the way, this is hypothetical, so you might want to take profit at say all the sevens at 7777, and you might want to put in a stop loss at say 75 04, $80 down from where it is currently. As examples, you can set that all up in advance, and you can go ahead and hit the button, and you can tell it to open up a long. Right now, so what does that look like when you open up a long? Let's just put this in a lower price so that we know that we're not actually going to open it up right now. So you can see me hitting the button, and it comes up with this little screen showing you, what you're actually doing there, and that's great. Good to know. Keeps you in the loop, and I can hit confirm, and then the order will show up on the charts, and here it is there. It's just showed up for us now, and of course then you can cancel that order by clicking there. You can modify the order by clicking here, and I just cancelled it, and that kind of sums it up for you. That's everything you really need to know in order to get in there, place a trade, have a take profit, stop loss. Essentially that's a set it and forget it system that you could use. You could go in and open up a trade there at any given time, and that would be good enough for you. It would take care of all the sort of managing it for you afterwards. And then you think, well, why would you do that whenever Bitcoin is a volatile asset? And again, that is basically the advantage of this particular format, because if you forget it and log out, and the Bitcoin price crashes down to $1,000 again, then your base currency, of course, is dollars, is Tether, United States dollar Tether, which is pegged 1-to-1 with the USD. So you're not actually losing any sort of dollar fiat value, which can be quite a sort of reassuring or a less complicated, more straightforward way. And when things are less complicated, more straightforward, it could mean that you're more effective as a trader, in which case, you could be more profitable. Of course, you might prefer to use the inverse perpetual swap contract and have Bitcoin as your base currency. That's totally fine, but you've got all the options there that you would need as to trade, as a professional trader, or indeed just being new to it as a novice. And there's a lot of good stuff in there. Now, there's other things that you'll come across in your own time using this. For instance, you've got options down here for your different order types, and you've got filled orders, order history, stuff like that. You'll see positions as well whenever you use them. You've got closed and profit and loss and all that sort of stuff. So it keeps you in the loop. You'll see over in this column how much money you made or lost on a trade. So that's all really, really, really good. And I can revisit this again. Let me know if you want to see more. But the reason that we're talking about this, just to be very clear with everybody, is that to say thank you to everybody who's a Rocky Outcroptician out there. That's 500 subscribers on the YouTube channel so far. That's so fantastic. My socks are truly well and truly blowing off. Bybit actually got in touch with me and says, would you do this for us? And I says, well, if you're just saying to me to share an affiliate link like everybody else does on YouTube, then I don't see the point. I respect my audience far too much. And of course, I appreciate that you probably watch other YouTubers anyway. And they agreed with me and says, hey, look, you're the most amazing person. This is official from Bybit's mouth. You're the best person in the world. We love you so much. I didn't say that, but they did say, no, that sounds interesting. Cool. Let's give your customers. You're not my customers. Your friends. It's actually. Let's give your friends. They called me an influencer, by the way. I'm not an influencer. What a weird term. Yeah, content creator. I'm kind of okay with, but influencer. Anyway. let's give your community a reward. So the first 5 people that use my affiliate link get $10 for free. So you can go ahead and use this USDT contract, learn to trade, do it all for free without any risk of your own money. And everybody else also gets, over the next 2 weeks, you get a deposit bonus. So if you deposit into your Bybit account 0.1 or 0.2 Bitcoin, you'll get 25 or a $50 bonus, which is cool because over here you can see that on the Bybit account that you get a deposit. If you actually deposit, you get a bonus. Sorry, if you deposit here up to $50 anyway. So, but for here you have to do 0.5 Bitcoin to get your $50, and with my affiliate link you have to put in 0.2 Bitcoin to get your $50. So it's much better. And then of course you're still eligible for all of these other awards along the way. So enjoy that, have a good time trading, stay safe out there, all that stuff. Let me know if I've missed something egregious out of this tutorial for you. Use my link down below and you'll get a bonus. Whether that's the deposit bonus or indeed simply the $10 free, all that stuff, and yes, so thanks so much for being part of the community. I'm only really making this video as a massive thank you to yourselves and as a way to help people sort of dip their toes in the water for trading. So I would say to people who are experienced traders, and that to let somebody else get the $10 free bonus, that's never traded before, because we'll know as experienced traders there's a heck of a big difference between trading with real money and trading with demo money, and I think that I think it's probably fair to say that the majority of people that get the free $10 bonus, if you're an experienced trader, you probably agree, that there's 5 novices out there who could get that bonus. Probably all 5 of them will lose the bonus while trading, to be honest, and that $10 lesson that they'll learn there is going to be worth so much more than $10 to them. I think to all of you out there, you do pay sort of your way along as you learn to trade and you get experience, and I feel like that could just be something that's kind of nice for people to get their sort of first lesson, so to speak, without it having actually been a kick in the teeth. So anyway, if you do join up and you've missed out on the first 5 people getting the $10, you'll still get that bonus, like I'm saying, for the deposit. And there's this other stuff, like you complete a survey, they'll give you $5. It only takes a couple of minutes. You tweet at them, they'll give you $5. I got $5 off them for tweeting one time, like that sort of thing. It's good crack, whatever. All the best. I hope you enjoy the tutorial. Look at all my videos. Do daily crypto TA videos, by the way, so like, subscribe, and all that stuff. Thanks for being part of the community. Thanks for being part of the family, and stay safe out there. Thanks so much. Catch you next time.